At the very edge of known space, beyond the bustling trade routes and sprawling star systems of the great galactic powers, lay a seemingly unremarkable star system named Sol. Here, humanity had carved out a modest existence to the galaxies. Vast and ancient civilizations, humans were little more than a curiosity, primitive, scattered, and unthreatening. The grand empires, with their towering fleets and centuries of experience, had no reason to pay close attention to this fledgling species. Yet beneath this quiet exterior, something was stirring. Earth, the birthplace of humanity, had become a symbol of resilience. After surviving countless wars, environmental collapse, and social upheaval, humans had emerged stronger, their spirit unbroken. This history of hardship was woven deeply into their culture, shaping them into a species capable of remarkable endurance and innovation. From isolated outposts on Mars to the orbiting habitats around distant moons, humans lived in communities that combined tradition with daring new science. They did not yet command great fleets or control vast territories, but they possessed something that the oldest empires often overlooked: relentless curiosity and a fierce will to survive. In the shadows of the galactic map, small human ships explored uncharted systems, mapping stars and mining rare minerals. Their technology, while still rudimentary compared to the ancient empires, was evolving rapidly. They had begun to integrate alien science, merging it with their own ingenuity in unexpected ways. One such expedition was led by Captain Mira Tarek, a seasoned explorer with a reputation for pushing limits. Her ship, the Ardent Dawn, glided through the void toward an uninhabited system rumored to contain valuable resources. Mira knew the dangers pirates, hostile species, and unpredictable cosmic phenomena, but the promise of discovery drove her forward. As the Ardent Dawn approached the system's main planet, sensors picked up faint signals, encrypted transmissions that suggested another presence. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Contact with unknown civilizations at the fringes was rare and often perilous. But humanity's nature was not to retreat in fear. Mira ordered a cautious approach, using stealth technology that combined human engineering with alien designs. The ship slipped into orbit undetected. What they found was startling: an ancient artifact, seemingly dormant, but radiating energy signatures unlike anything cataloged in human or alien archives. Scientists aboard the Ardent Dawn theorized that the artifact could be a relic from a civilization long vanished, perhaps even older than the galaxy's oldest empire. Its potential was immense, both as a source of knowledge and power. Word of the discovery spread quickly through human networks. For the first time in generations, there was a palpable excitement. Humanity was awakening, not just in terms of technology or exploration, but in a deeper sense of purpose and identity. Across the galaxy, other races began to notice these stirrings. Scouts from the Zellerai Dominion, a militaristic empire that had dominated its sector for centuries, intercepted communications about the artifact. They dismissed humanity as mere scavengers, but could not ignore the artifact's significance. Meanwhile, the Araxian Concord, known for their diplomatic cunning, debated how to respond to humanity's rise. Many in their councils argued that humans were reckless and unpredictable, dangerous qualities in a species growing too fast. Back on Earth, the United Earth Coalition convened emergency meetings to plan the next steps. Scientists, diplomats, and military leaders wrestled with how to harness this awakening responsibly. The last thing humanity wanted was to provoke war with the galaxy's dominant powers. Yet, as the sun set over Earth's sprawling cities, a new generation of humans gazed at the stars with determination. They understood that the galaxy was no longer a distant stage for others to dominate. It was their home, and they were ready to claim their place in its vast story. As the Ardent Dawn prepared to depart, Captain Mira stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the glowing artifact below. The quiet stirring had become a call to action. Humanity was waking, and with it, the galaxy was about to change forever. The galaxy had grown accustomed to the slow, steady rhythms of power empires rising and falling over millennia, battles fought with predictable tactics and age-old rivalries. Yet on the fringes, where stars burned quietly and secrets lay hidden, a new rhythm began to beat a pulse fueled by humanity's restless spirit. It started with a skirmish. Two neighboring star systems, long locked in a fragile ceasefire, suddenly erupted into conflict. The Vexari and the Drolnari, both proud and powerful species, clashed over disputed mining rights near the resource-rich system of Zalterra. The fight was brutal, as expected, but what no one anticipated was the arrival of a small human fleet. Barely 10 ships strong, intervening with precision and speed. Captain Mira Tarek, fresh from the discovery of the ancient artifact, now commanded a tactical squadron sent to observe the conflict. Her mission was simple: gather intelligence and avoid involvement. But when a civilian transport carrying thousands of refugees came under fire, Myra faced a choice that would change everything. With a calm voice and unyielding resolve, she ordered her ships to engage. They did not charge with overwhelming firepower, nor did they rely on sheer numbers. Instead, they struck with calculated precision, outmaneuvering larger enemy vessels and disabling their key systems with pinpoint accuracy. The skirmish lasted mere hours, but its impact rippled across the stars. News of the human intervention spread like wildfire, carried by smugglers, traders, and spies alike. For the first time, a new player had shown it could influence events far beyond its borders, not by brute force, but through ingenuity and courage. In the command halls of the Vexari High Council, anger and confusion simmered. How could these humans, barely known and underestimated, wield such skill? The answer unsettled them deeply. It wasn't just the technology they possessed that, in some measure, it was their unpredictability, their willingness to defy expectations, that made them dangerous. Across the void, the Drolnari elders debated their next move. They had long dismissed humans as insignificant, yet their defeat in this engagement forced them to reconsider. A new variable had entered the game, one that could upset the delicate balance of power. Meanwhile, the oldest empire, the Veilthor Dominion, watched with growing concern. For thousands of years, they had ruled with near-absolute authority, their fleets unmatched and their influence spanning countless systems. To them, humanity was a minor curiosity, a species not yet worthy of direct attention. But reports from Veilthor scouts painted a different picture. Humans were not just surviving on the edges, they were evolving, adapting, and learning faster than anyone anticipated. The Dominion spies uncovered whispers of strange technologies, unexplained breakthroughs, and a boldness that seemed almost reckless. Within the Dominion's grand halls, Emperor Krail stood before his council, his expression darkening. "We have tolerated these humans for too long," he declared. "Their interference threatens our order. It is time we remind the galaxy why the Veilthor reigns supreme." Back in human space, the United Earth Coalition buzzed with a mixture of pride and caution. Myra's actions had inspired many, but leaders understood that showing strength was a double-edged sword. Too much attention from the Dominion could bring devastating consequences at the same time. Human scientists worked feverishly to decode the energy signatures from the artifact. Discovered by the Ardent Dawn, they uncovered fragments of knowledge, hinting at technologies far beyond anything currently known, energy fields that could reshape matter, communication methods that spanned light years instantly. These discoveries fueled the human resolve. They were waking up, not just as survivors, but as a force that could rewrite the rules of galactic power. But with every step forward came new dangers, old empires that would not yield easily, and alliances forged in fear. Captain Myra stood once more on the bridge of her flagship, watching the stars blur past as they returned from the conflict zone. The spark had been lit. Humanity was no longer a quiet observer on the galactic stage. They were a rising flame, ready to challenge the darkness as the galaxy held its breath. One truth became clear. The days of underestimating humanity were over. Something had awakened within them, and even the oldest empires could feel the tremors of change. The Veil 3 Dominion's sprawling capital, nestled within the heart of a dying star system, pulsed with ancient power. Vast towers of obsidian and shimmering crystal rose toward the swirling purple sky, a testament to millennia of dominance and control. But inside the Emperor's chambers, a different kind of storm brewed, one born of unease and uncertainty. Emperor Krau, a towering figure, clad in ornate armor, paced slowly before a massive holodisplay. Flickering images of human ships, their daring maneuvers, and their recent victories over the Vexery and Drolnery played out before him. Each success was a sharp sting to his pride and a reminder that his empire's hold over the galaxy was no longer unchallenged. "We have watched these humans for centuries," Krau said, his voice low and cold. "But their recent actions demand a new response. They are no longer mere scavengers. They are a threat." His advisors murmured among themselves, careful to mask their growing fear. The Veilthor had crushed rebellions, outwitted rival empires, and survived countless wars. To be unsettled by a species so young was unprecedented. Their technology is still inferior to ours. The chief strategist reminded the council. "Our fleets dwarf theirs in number and firepower. But their tactics are unlike anything we have faced," another counselor countered. "They adapt quickly, innovate constantly. Our spies report they have access to relic technologies from the artifact discovered near Sol." Emperor Kral's gaze hardened. "Then we will see if their innovations can withstand the full might of the Veilthor Dominion." With a wave of his hand, the holodisplay shifted to show detailed star charts. Several systems near humanity's borders were marked in red. "Prepare the fleets for deployment. I want scouts closer to human space. Serve, learn, and report back everything. No detail is too small." Across the galaxy, the message was clear. Humanity was no longer overlooked. The oldest empire, with all its might and ancient wisdom, was turning its attention toward the upstart species. Meanwhile, on the planet Ceres, one of humanity's bustling colonies in the Sol system, tensions ran high. News of the Veilthor's interest spread quickly, casting a shadow over the celebrations that followed the recent human victory. Dr. Amina Reyes, a leading scientist studying the artifact's mysteries, stood before a gathering of coalition officials. "The artifact contains technology that could accelerate our evolution," she explained, "but it also draws attention. The Veilthar are ancient and ruthless. We must proceed carefully." Her words resonated with many, but others saw opportunity in the looming challenge. Commander Jox Holden, head of the Coalition's defense forces, spoke with determination. "If the Veilthar want war, we will not back down. We fight smarter, not just harder." In the shadowy corridors of the Veilthar intelligence complex, operatives prepared for their mission. Among them was Kale Varn, a seasoned spy known for his ability to blend into any culture. His assignment: infiltrate human colonies, gather intelligence, and report on their strengths and weaknesses. Kale's ship slipped silently through space, cloaked by cutting-edge technology designed to evade detection. He neared the Sol system. He marveled at the vibrant life teeming on the blue planet below, a stark contrast to the cold, controlled order of the Veilthar. Humans, Kale muttered to himself. Unpredictable, resilient, dangerous. He prepared to descend back. On the ardent dawn, Captain Myra Tarek received new orders from Coalition Command. "Intel confirms increased Veilthar activity near our borders. Her communications officer reported, "They're sending spies and scouts. We need to be ready." Myra nodded. "Then we'll show them humanity's true strength. Prepare." The crew, "It's time we prove that we're not just survivors, we're a force to be reckoned with." As the ship accelerated into the stars, humanity's destiny moved closer to the Empire's doorstep. The Veiltor Dominion's gaze was fixed upon them, but humans were no longer the frightened species hiding in the shadows. They were awake, alert, and ready. The galaxy's oldest empire was beginning to tremble. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, in a sprawling underground complex shielded from prying eyes, the pulse of human advancement beat faster than ever before. The United Earth Coalition's greatest minds had gathered to unlock secrets. Hidden for centuries, secrets that could elevate humanity beyond the limits set by biology and technology alike. Dr. Amin Reyes paced slowly through the lab's bright corridors, her mind racing with possibilities. The artifact recovered from the distant system was no ordinary relic. Its energy signatures resonated with an unknown power, one that seemed to interface directly with the human nervous system. After months of careful study, her team had developed a neural augmentation device capable of expanding cognitive function far beyond normal human limits. They called it the Awakening. Initial trials had been cautious. Volunteers were connected to the device, their brainwaves monitored closely as the technology stimulated dormant neural pathways. The results were staggering. Participants demonstrated increased memory retention, accelerated learning, and heightened senses. More astonishingly, some exhibited an almost intuitive grasp of complex technologies and strategies. Captain Mira Tarek was among the first to volunteer for the advanced testing phase. She had always been curious about pushing her limits, both physically and mentally. As the device activated, she felt a rush of clarity wash over her. Thoughts sharpened, patterns emerged where once there had been noise, and possibilities stretched. Before her, like a vast horizon, dot. With the Awakening, humanity was no longer confined by the slow pace of natural evolution. It was as if a veil had been lifted, revealing potential long buried beneath fear, doubt, and limitation. News of the breakthrough leaked quickly through coalition channels. The Veiltor Dominion's spies were already nearby, their eyes searching for any sign of this new power. If the Empire hopes to maintain control, they had to understand at hand soon. In the grand halls of the Veilthar, Emperor Kral received fragmented reports from his intelligence network. "These humans are changing," his chief advisor warned. "Their minds grow sharper, their technologies more advanced. If left unchecked, they could surpass us in ways we cannot predict." Kral's expression darkened. "Then we must strike before they complete their awakening." Back on Earth, a summit convened. Representatives from every human colony and allied species gathered to discuss the path forward. The stakes had never been higher. The Awakening was a gift, but also a beacon, drawing the attention of forces both old and dangerous. Dr. Reyes spoke with measured passion. "We are on the brink of a new era. This technology is not just a weapon, it is a key to understanding ourselves and the universe. But with power comes responsibility. We must ensure this knowledge serves all of humanity." Commander Jacques Holden, ever the pragmatist, added, "The Veilthor will not wait. They see us as a threat. We need to prepare militarily, diplomatically, and intellectually. Our survival depends on it." In the midst of these plans, Captain Myra tested the limits of the Awakening. During simulated combat drills, her mind processed multiple threats simultaneously, predicting enemy maneuvers with uncanny accuracy. Her reflexes sharpened. Decisions came faster, more precise. She was becoming something more than humana, harbinger of the future. Yet even as power grew, so did the risks. Neural strain left some volunteers fatigued, their minds overwhelmed by the surge of new information. Ethical debates raged over who should receive the augmentation and how far to push its limits. Outside the labs, across the stars, the galaxy began to notice a shift. Reports came from human outposts of engineers developing new propulsion systems, diplomats forging unlikely alliances, and soldiers defending their homes with renewed vigor and insight. On the Veilthor homeworld, cricks appeared in the empires. Unity. Some factions argued for negotiation, seeing the humans' rapid rise as an opportunity for peace and growth. Others demanded harsh measures, fearing the loss of their ancient dominance. Emperor Kral stood at a crossroads. Captain Mira's ardent dawn prepared to leave Earth's orbit, ready to carry the message of humanity's awakening to distant systems. As she gazed out at the stars, she felt the weight of her people's hopes and fears on her shoulders. Humanity was no longer the underdog. They were evolving, awakened, and aware. The galaxy was watching, and the oldest empire was trembling. The moment the Veilthor Dominion sent their emissaries to humanity, the galaxy held its breath. For centuries, the oldest empire had dealt with new species in a cold, calculated way, either absorbing them into its vast bureaucracy or crushing them beneath overwhelming military force. But with humanity, things would be different. The Empire had never faced anything quite like this species. The delegation arrived at the orbital station around Earth in a sleek, imposing vessel adorned with the symbols of the Veilthor inside. Ambassador Vorin and his retinue prepared to meet the representatives of the United Earth Coalition. They expected a show of submission or perhaps a subtle threat of force. Instead, they were met with calm confidence. President Liana Mabeki, leader of the coalition, greeted the delegation personally. Her voice was steady, her gaze unwavering. Welcome to Earth's orbit. We hope this meeting marks the beginning of understanding, not conflict. Vorin studied her carefully. You are a species of contradictions, he said. Bold, yet cautious. Strong, yet willing to negotiate. We have watched you rise quickly. The artifact you discovered, the neural technology you wielded, unsettles the Dominion. Mabeki nodded. We are aware of your concerns, but we seek peace. We want to build a future where all species can thrive without fear or domination. The talks continued for days, tense yet productive. Humans demonstrated fragments of the neural augmentation technology, careful not to reveal their full capabilities. They shared plans for joint scientific exploration, hoping to build trust yet beneath the diplomatic veneer. Fear simmered on both sides. Back on Veilthor Prime, Emperor Krael received daily updates. The humans' openness was disarming, but it did not erase his unease. He convened his council to discuss the way forward. Do we believe their words? Asked the chief strategist. Or do we see a species that seeks to outpace us, to topple our empire through technology and alliances? Kral's voice was grave. We cannot afford to underestimate them. If we do, we risk losing everything. A faction within the council argued for a preemptive strike, warning that hesitation would be fatal. Another advocated for cautious diplomacy, hoping to find common ground before open war. Meanwhile, Captain Mira Tariq prepared her ship for a new mission. The Ardent Dawn was to escort a diplomatic convoy to the Veil. Tar's border world's territories where tensions ran high and violence could erupt at any moment as they traveled. Myra reflected on how far humanity had come. The awakening had changed everything, not just technology or tactics, but the very way humans saw themselves and their place in the galaxy. During the journey, a distress call arrived from a nearby colony under sudden attack by Veilthor raiders. Without hesitation, Mira's fleet diverted to assist. The battle was fierce, but brief. Using their superior coordination and neural enhancements, human forces disabled the raiders' command ships, forcing a retreat. The victory was a clear message. Humanity, would defend its people and allies with determination and skill. News of the battle spread rapidly. Across the galaxy, species that had long lived under the shadow of the Veilthor began to see humanity in a new light, not as insignificant outsiders, but as a rising power capable of standing up to the Empire in secret. Some dissident factions within the Veilthor began reaching out to human diplomats, eager to explore alternatives to endless war. The old order was showing signs of strain back on the diplomatic ship. Ambassador Vorin reported the unfolding events to Emperor Kral. They grow stronger, more confident, he warned. Their technology evolves rapidly. Their alliances deepen. If we do not act soon, we risk being outflanked politically and militarily. Krail clenched his fists. Then we will remind them why the Veilthor have ruled for millennia. But the message had already begun to shift. The galaxy's oldest empire was no longer the unquestioned master. Humanity's awakening had sparked hope, fear, and a new balance of power. As Captain Mira looked out at the stars, she knew the coming days would test humanity's resolve. War might be inevitable, but so was change. The galaxy was watching, and no one could predict what would come next. Darkness gathered at the edge of human space. Whispers of war traveled faster than light through hidden channels and encrypted transmissions. The Veilthor Dominion was mobilizing, sending fleets and covert operatives toward the frontier systems. The galaxy felt the shift as centuries of uneasy peace gave way to tension thick enough to choke the stars themselves. Captain Myra Tarek stood on the bridge of the Ardent Dawn, watching starfields blur into streaks of light as the ship raced toward a vulnerable human colony under threat. Her mind was sharp, focused. The neural augmentation, the awakening, had expanded her senses and reflexes. But the weight of leadership remained heavy. "We're receiving multiple distress signals," her communications officer reported. "Veilthor raiders are attacking settlements across this sector." Mira's jaw tightened. "Prepare defensive formations. We can't let them break through." Her fleet responded with a synchronized grace born of countless hours of training and the neural link that bound them. They were faster and smarter than any fleet the Dominion had faced. Yet the enemy was vast and relentless. Across the battlefield, Veilthor commanders underestimated humanity's newfound coordination and resilience. Their massive warships boomed with energy weapons, but the smaller, more agile human vessels darted between volleys, striking weak points with surgical precision. The clash was brutal and costly. Lives were lost on both sides, but humanity's determination shone brightest. In the chaos, civilians were evacuated, starports defended, and supply lines protected. The awakening gave human commanders a strategic edge, anticipating enemy moves and adapting in real time. Amid the battle, a new threat emerged. Veilthor saboteurs had infiltrated several human colonies, spreading misinformation and sabotaging critical infrastructure. Fear and suspicion began to erode the fragile alliances humanity had built. Back on Earth, the United Earth Coalition convened emergency meetings. President Liana Mbeki addressed the council, her voice steady but urgent. "The Dominion's aggression confirms what we feared," she said. "They seek to crush our rise before it can threaten their rule. We must unite and respond not just with force, but with intelligence and diplomacy." Dr. Amina Reyes warned of the toll the awakening took on volunteers. "Our neural augmentations are powerful, but they have limits. Prolonged use strains the mind and body. We must find a way to balance progress with sustainability." In the shadowed halls of Veilthor Prime, Emperor Krail prepared for a decisive campaign. His advisors pushed for overwhelming force to crush humanity's spirit. But Krail, haunted by the unexpected strength of the humans, hesitated. "War is a blade that cuts both ways," he said quietly. "If we destroy them, we risk shattering the balance of the galaxy. But if we hesitate, we lose control. A faction within the Dominion, led by the ambitious General Threx, advocated for total war and all-out invasion aimed at subjugating humanity once and for all. Threx's zeal won support among war-hardened commanders eager to reclaim dominance. Meanwhile, Kelvarn, the Veilthur spy embedded within human colonies, sent coded reports back to his superiors. He had witnessed the Awakening's power firsthand and the human spirit that refused to break. Yet, as Kale observed, he began to question his own loyalties. The human's courage and hope stirred something unfamiliar, flicker of respect, even admiration. One night, hidden in a remote outpost, Kale confided in a human scientist. "Your people are unlike any I have known. You awaken not just your minds, but your souls." The scientist smiled, weary but determined. "That is the true strength we bring. The galaxy will remember that." As battles raged and alliances strained, humanity's awakening became more than a technological leap, was a beacon of resilience and unity. The Veilthur Dominion's grip on the galaxy trembled. Captain Mira Tarek, leading her fleet through a fierce engagement near the outskirts of the Sol system, knew the path ahead would be perilous. But humanity was ready to face the darkness not with fear, but with fire. The galaxy's oldest empire was learning that when humanity awoke, even the stars themselves could tremble. The battles had raged for months. Human colonies burned, starports shattered, and lives lost on both sides. Yet in the heart of the conflict, a quiet revolution began to take hold. Humanity's unyielding spirit, combined with the awakening technology, was turning the tide against the Veilthur Dominion. Captain Myra Tarek stood on the bridge of the Ardent Dawn, eyes sharp as she watched her fleet weave through a deadly Veilthur blockade near the Zaltera system. Their mission was critical: deliver vital supplies and reinforcements to a beleaguered colony cut off by enemy forces. "Enemy fleet approaching," her tactical officer reported. "Their numbers exceed ours by nearly 3-1. Myra's jaw clenched. "We don't have the luxury of waiting for reinforcements. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Use the neural network link. Our coordination is our greatest weapon." The ships moved as one, guided by the link that amplified the commander's mental connection. Each pilot anticipated the other's actions, dodging heavy fire and striking swiftly at exposed targets. The Veilthur fleet, though overwhelming in size, struggled against the humans' unpredictable tactics and lightning-fast reactions. With precise strikes, the Ardent Dawn and its escorts shattered the blockade, opening a path to the colony. Back on Earth, the coalition's leadership celebrated the victory as a turning point. President Liana Mbeki addressed the public in a broadcast that echoed across star systems. "This victory is more than a military success, is a testament to humanity's resilience and unity. We face a powerful enemy, but we face it together. Our awakening is not just technology, it is the strength of our spirit." Within the Veilthur Dominion, cracks appeared. General Threx, frustrated by the failures on the battlefield, demanded harsher measures. "We must crush these humans swiftly. Delay only weakens us." Emperor Kral, weary but resolute, disagreed. "They are no ordinary foe. To destroy them, without understanding their potential, is to invite disaster. We must seek a path that preserves the empire and avoids total war." The disagreement sparked political turmoil. Some factions sided with the general's aggressive approach, while others supported the emperor's cautious diplomacy. The empire's unity faltered, even as the war escalated. Amid the chaos, Kelvarn, the Veilthur spy, found himself torn. The human's determination and empathy contrasted sharply with the cold, rigid order of the Dominion. His reports grew conflicted, reflecting his internal struggle. One evening, Kale contacted Captain Myra covertly. There are those within the Dominion who wish to end this conflict, not with destruction, but with peace. If you are willing, there may be a way to open dialogue. Mira hesitated, but recognized the opportunity. We want peace, but it must be built on trust, not threats. Their secret communication marked the beginning of a fragile and dangerous path toward understanding. Meanwhile, Nemea, Reyes, and her team pushed forward with the neural technology. They developed enhancements to reduce the strain of the awakening, allowing more people to benefit safely. As more humans experienced the augmentation, the collective intelligence and creativity of the species surged on in one breakthrough. Scientists discovered ways to extend the neural link beyond military applications too, coordinate large-scale projects, and solve complex problems faster than ever before. The galaxy began to shift. More species, long oppressed by the Veilther, started to look to humanity as a beacon of hope. Alliances formed, and coalitions of diverse worlds emerged, united by a shared desire for freedom and progress. On a distant moon, a secret meeting took place between human diplomats and representatives of Veilther dissenters. They discussed the possibility of a ceasefire, a new order where power would be shared rather than imposed. Emperor Krail watched the developments with cautious optimism. If humanity's awakening can inspire change within the Dominion, he mused, perhaps the galaxy can find a new way forward. Captain Myra Tarek stood on the bridge of the Ardent Dawn, the stars stretching endlessly before her. The war was far from over, but for the first time, hope burned brighter than fear. Humanity was no longer merely surviving. They were awakening to a destiny that could reshape the galaxy itself. And the tide was beginning to turn. The war had reached a standstill. Across the stars, debris from fallen ships drifted silently. Monuments to the stubbornness of two mighty forces, the ancient Veilther Dominion and the newly awakened humanity. Yet within the silence, a new sound was beginning to rise, the clash of weapons, but the quiet murmur of diplomacy, understanding, and possibility. On the neutral world of Aurelia, once a forgotten outpost between territories, delegates from both sides now gathered. The great dome of the Planetary Council Hall shimmered under twin suns, casting soft light onto the faces of humans and Veilther alike. Soldiers stood at ease beside scholars, diplomats beside former enemies. Captain Mira Tarek, still in uniform, now walked the halls not as a commander, but as a witness to something greater. The Ardent Dawn remained in orbit, a symbol of human courage, but Mira's battles were no longer fought with weapons. Her victories were measured in words, in gestures of trust, and in the narrowing gap between species once locked in fear. Kale Varn, the former Veilther spy, now sat beside Mira at the negotiation table. His decision to defect had stunned the Dominion, but his testimony had been critical in building the bridge that now connected the two civilizations. They thought you would destroy us, he said quietly to Myra between sessions. And yet, here you are forging peace. Mira glanced around the room. We were never meant to destroy. We were meant to evolve. The final proposal was simple but bold. An interstellar accord, forged not from conquest, but from shared purpose. The core of the agreement would allow former rival civilizations to collaborate in rebuilding war-torn worlds, sharing knowledge including safe applications of the neural technology that had sparked the conflict. President Liana Mbeki presented the proposal to the Assembly with steady conviction. We do not come here to rewrite the galaxy in humanity's image, she said. We come to offer partnership, equality, and peace. Let this awakening not be a threat, but a turning point for all. For a moment, silence filled the hall. Then, unexpectedly, Emperor Krail himself stood. His dark robes and regal presence commanded attention, but his voice was quiet. We ruled for millennia through fear and power, but fear has limits. power fades. What endures is vision. He looked toward Myra. Your people challenged us. Not with brute strength, but with the strength of possibility. For that, I choose peace. The hall erupted in applause, not just from humans, but from the allied delegates of once silent races who had long yearned for change. Weeks later, the first combined project began, a vast orbital academy, constructed in neutral space where young minds from across the galaxy could learn together. It would teach not only science and strategy, but also diplomacy, empathy, and shared responsibility. Dr. Amina Reyes led the scientific division, carefully introducing the awakening neural technology under strict ethical guidelines. What had once been a tool of survival was now a gift to be shared responsibly and with consent. Children from Earth, Vailthor Prime, and dozens of worlds studied side by side. The past was not forgotten, but it no longer ruled the future. As for Captain Mira Tariq, she finally stood down from command. The Arden Dawn was retired with honors, its name etched into the archives of history. Mira now walked the paths of quiet gardens on Earth, sometimes looking up at the stars she had once raced through. She smiled often because she knew the galaxy had changed and that humanity had not simply awakened. They had shown the galaxy a better way forward from the shadows of obscurity. Humanity had risen from the ruins of war. A new era had begun, and in the hearts of many, across countless stars, one truth would always remain. When humanity awoke, even the galaxy's oldest empire trembled, and then, for the first time, it listened.